Hey everybody, Papa Wiggs here with Wiggs. We're going to talk about waiver wires this week. I'm going to jump right in. Wiggs and I only have one the same, right, this week.
Yeah.
So the first guy here is Tank Bigsby. I know I've had him on my waiver wire before. I really like what Bigsby's doing there in Jacksonville. I mean, he's only on 18% of the teams right now. So, um, and who knows with ETN? I mean, he was hurt. He did come back in the game. So I got a feeling that Bigsby's still going to have an active role in this offense. The next guy that I have for waiver wire is Devontae Wicks. Wicks is in 18% of the leagues right now on Sleeper. Listen, Watson went down. There's talk that they might put him on IR. He's got a high ankle sprain, so at least he didn't have anything significant. I could see Wicks being a guy that everybody wants to at least maybe keep on their bench, potentially use as a flex. My next guy is Justin Watson. The Chiefs, there's all kinds of talk right now because of Rashid Rice, right? They still haven't come out and said what's wrong with them. They're doing a bunch of tests and stuff. I don't know. Maybe that's a good thing for Rice. I'm convinced he's probably going to be done for the season. But he might not be. Until they figure that out, I don't think the Chiefs are going to make any moves until they know exactly what's going on with Rice. Because why would they spend money or draft picks or anything on bringing in a receiver if they don't know what the true outcome of Rice's injury is? So to me, I think Justin Watson is going to see an increased role there. Right now, he's on 0 teams in Sleeper. But I definitely think between him and Worthy, and then obviously the big target now is going to be Kelsey, right, Wiggs? I mean, and then they got Juju, right? But I do think Watson is worth at least putting on your bench until they figure out what the receiver situation is. Tucker Kraft for the Packers. Listen, he had a really good game last week. I think once Love comes back, he's going to be even more involved. He's only on 8% of the teams in Sleeper. I think that he's eventually going to take over from Musgrave. I think that Love likes Kraft. He targets him a lot. I just think that Kraft is definitely a good bye-week replacement or potentially a tight end that you can start once Love is back in the lineup. And then that leads me into Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon's only in 3% of the Sleeper apps, or Sleeper on 3% of the teams. Listen, Jonathan Taylor, they're saying could miss some time because he got hurt last week. So I think Sermon's going to be a hot waiver wire. He didn't have a great game this past week, I still think that he's worth putting on your bench, especially if you have Jonathan Taylor. He may be a good, fill-in, depending on how involved he is in the offense. So definitely someone you should be looking at. Wiggs, what do you think?
I went with Kareem Hunt, obviously. I did this last week as well, even though he didn't play last week. I just think going into these future weeks, he's going to be more involved in this offense. He ran the ball 10 times. He had about 70 yards on those carries. I believe it was 69 yards, actually. And then he had 16 yards on one reception. So I definitely see him being heavily involved in this offense. I actually think he'll be more involved here this week. He actually didn't get a touch until later in the second quarter when Carson Steele wasn't doing anything and fumbled the ball. The one thing I know you and I talked about is maybe he won't be as productive in the red zone because they did end up giving the touches to P. Ryan when they were in that red zone area, but maybe that was just due to the fact that he was just new to the team and was still catching on to the offense, but he's been in the system before. I wouldn't doubt it if it doesn't take him that long to fully get back up to speed here. I think he could actually be the starter here going into the upcoming weeks with P. Ryan being that 2 back behind him and Steele kind of just in the mix a little bit. And I could see him having a few good weeks. He did it last year when he came in to the Browns offense. Played pretty well. He was splitting reps with Ford, so.
And how Andy Reid likes to use players, it wouldn't surprise me if he does end up being more involved in that offense, and he could be a huge waiver wire asset to a team looking for an RB.
Yeah, especially with them being down at receiver now as well, we could totally see Hunt being more involved in that passing game. Or they might even just use P. Ryan more in a passing role and then just keep Hunt in the backfield. You never know with how Andy Reid does things. Moving forward, Justice Hill. I know you picked him up like last minute here heading into the week, and he did you good. 16 points here in the last game. I think he's a little bit underrated right now. Yes, he's really only the receiving running back, but when Lamar Jackson is throwing more passes to your running back than his receivers, you kind of got to think about adding him because the running backs on this offense have really done a lot over the last 2 weeks and their 2 wins that they've had. And it wouldn't surprise me here if they continue to be more productive than the wide receivers. I mean, the tight ends really haven't been too involved outside of that first week. So this offense is a little interesting and a little unpredictable, but I don't know. Lamar just doesn't really seem to be wanting to throw the ball to his receivers at the moment, and his tight ends kind of are just irrelevant. And yeah, so I think picking up Hill's a pretty solid option. Moving forward, I agree with you on Tank Bigsby. I had him, I think, as a week one waiver wire. He's actually come out and ran the ball pretty well, and I don't know, ETN back to back weeks has gone out of the game and come back in, so it wouldn't surprise me if ETN is hurt at any point in this season, or he's going to be missing time. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to at least pick up Bigsby and stash him on your bench, just in case ETN does get hurt and can't play, because he's looked good when he's out on the field. He's averaging a good chunk of yards per carry, so keep an eye on Bigsby for sure. And then Josh Downs, this might be a little bit of a hot take, but if Anthony Richardson does miss any sort of time due to his injury, I wouldn't doubt it if Downs has a few good games here and there, because Joe Flacco does know how to utilize his receivers. I would agree with you on Trey Sermon as well if Joe Flacco does continue to get a few like games in here, because in the time that Taylor's gone, if Sermon's going to be the starting back, and if Richardson misses any time, Flacco does like to throw the ball to his running backs as well, and I think Sermon will benefit a lot from that. So we'll kind of wait and see how injuries play out on this roster, but I think both Sermon and Downs could be solid pickups here this week, because in my eyes, Flacco just knows how to utilize his guys a lot better than Richardson has so far. So
Yeah, I like the Justice Hill one. I was really surprised, to be honest with you, Wiggs, that he was even still out on our, available out on our waivers and stuff. And that's why I picked him up, because I had a feeling about him, and I was hoping he was going to still be out there. I was just kind of waiting to see what one other guy was going to do, and I wasn't happy with him, so that's why I picked him up when I did. I also like the fact that they line him up as a receiver. They've been doing that close down to the red zone. He had that TD catch last week against the Bills, and boy, he can really catch the ball. I'm amazed at how good of his hands are. So even though he's behind the King, I still think the Ravens are making a really concerted effort to keep him involved in the offense. So he's pushing his way up to a borderline RB2, really, to be quite honest, just because of his involvement in the passing game and how much the Ravens like to run the ball. So with that, you got anything else to add?
nope.
Well, check us out, Fantasy Fools PPR on YouTube. We're also out on Snapchat, X, TikTok, Instagram. Like, share, subscribe. Give us any feedback, ask any questions. We look forward from hearing from all you guys. And until next time, we'll see you soon.